Most people are afraid to be alone. Why? Because when the crowd leaves and the noise fades, you're left with the one person you've been avoiding, yourself. But let me tell you something. Being alone is not a weakness. It's a superpower that most people will never unlock. Ladies, let's break a myth right now. They say you need someone to complete you. I say you need you to complete you. There's power in eating alone. There's power in sleeping peacefully without anxiety. There's power in choosing solitude over shallow company. You see, being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means you're finally ready to meet the woman behind the mask. The one who doesn't fake laugh. The one who doesn't shrink to fit in. The one who doesn't beg to be chosen. Solitude builds self-respect in a way no applause ever can. See, when you're constantly surrounded by people, opinions, noise, validation, you start to live through their lens. But the moment you sit with yourself in silence, something shifts. You stop asking the world, am I enough? And start telling yourself, I am. Let me give you an example. You walk into a cafe, and there's a woman sitting alone, sipping her coffee, smiling, not on her phone, not pretending to be busy, just sitting there in her own calm. Some people look at her and think she's lonely. But you know what she is? Unbothered. That's the kind of power solitude gives you. You stop performing, you stop proving, you stop begging. When you spend time alone, you finally hear your own voice without it being drowned out by a million others. And that voice, it's powerful. It tells you when something doesn't feel right. It reminds you that your worth doesn't come from being liked, but from being you. Authentically, unapologetically, radically you. A lot of people stay in toxic friendships or relationships because they're afraid of solitude. They fear that empty bed, that quiet room, that Friday night alone. But here's the truth. It's not the solitude that's scary. It's the mirror. It's facing the truth of who you are and who you've been pretending to be. And that confrontation, though painful, is what sets you free. You start realizing that canceling plans because you'd rather stay in and do something for yourself isn't selfish, it's self-respect. Saying no to people who drain your energy, choosing silence over small talk, and choosing growth over gossip becomes second nature. You don't care if they call you too much or too distant, because finally, you know your own damn worth. Think about this. You have a phone, and it's always connected to Wi-Fi, always receiving updates, notifications, messages. Eventually it overheats, it slows down, it needs a reset. That's you, constantly connected to people, energy, drama, expectations. Solitude is your reset, your system update. And when you come back, you're not just better, you're bulletproof. There's a story I love. A woman was married for years, always doing what her husband wanted. She dressed for him, cooked for him, lived by his schedule. One day, he left her. Just walked out. She was shattered. But instead of running to fill the silence with another man or more chaos, she sat with herself, took solo trips, learned photography, danced barefoot in her living room. Now, she doesn't need anyone to validate her existence. She knows who she is. Because she met herself in that solitude. And what she met was a queen. People will test your boundaries. They'll try to guilt you for wanting space. They'll call you cold, distant, arrogant. But here's the kicker. You don't shrink anymore. You don't explain your solitude like it's something to be ashamed of. You wear it like a crown. Because once you realize that your own company is enough, no one can manipulate you through loneliness. You learn to take yourself out on dates, to sit at the edge of your bed and speak to yourself gently, to cry without hiding it, to laugh without an audience. And suddenly, you're not afraid of being left. Because you've stopped leaving yourself. You stop begging to be chosen in rooms you don't belong in. You stop answering texts from people who only reach out when they need something. You start giving the same energy you receive. And if that leaves you with fewer people around, so be it. The ones who remain are the ones who matter. The rest were just noise in the background of your becoming. Self-respect isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the shadows, in the moments no one sees. In the early mornings you get up just to sit with your thoughts. In the walks you take without your phone. In the nights you cry and then get up, wipe your tears and whisper, I got me, and that's when the magic begins. Alone time is clarity time. It's the space where the fog in your mind finally clears and the truth you've been avoiding starts to whisper, then scream. Most people run from alone time because they're scared of what they'll hear in the silence. But that silence, that's where answers live. Not in another opinion, not in another conversation, not in another distraction. The clarity you're searching for is already inside you, but you won't find it in the noise. Imagine this. You're scrolling through social media, switching between 10 different thoughts. What to wear, who to text, what they meant when they left you on read. Your brain feels cluttered, your heart confused. You ask, why am I so lost? But when's the last time you paused and just sat with yourself? Without a screen, without someone else's voice drowning your own. You can't make life-changing decisions in chaos. You can't choose your future with the opinions of 10 people ringing in your ears. That's why alone time is sacred. It gives you perspective. It strips the world away so you can finally see what you want, not what you were programmed to chase. Picture this, a woman sitting by the ocean, no phone, no companion, just the waves and her thoughts. That's not loneliness, that's clarity. That's the moment she decides she's tired of pleasing everyone but herself. That's the moment she realizes she's been living by default, not by design. And it's in that stillness, in that quiet heartbeat between waves that she says, no more. You don't need another night out. You need a night in with yourself. You don't need a new relationship to get over the old one. You need to sit alone and ask, why did I tolerate that? And when you do, the answers start coming. You realize you weren't asking for too much. You were asking the wrong person. You realize your overthinking isn't anxiety. It's your intuition screaming through the noise. There's a reason why some of your most genius ideas hit you in the shower, in the middle of the night, or during a long walk alone. That's not a coincidence. That's clarity breaking through when the world finally shuts up. A friend once told me she went on a solo trip to a cabin in the woods. No Wi-Fi, no signal. Just trees, books, and her. She thought she'd go crazy, but instead she met herself for the first time. She journaled, she cried, she forgave people who never apologized. She admitted truths she never dared to say out loud. She came back glowing, not because she found someone, but because she found clarity. And that clarity turned into confidence. Sometimes clarity comes in the most unexpected moment, like standing in the kitchen making tea, and suddenly realizing you've outgrown your job, your circle, or even your partner. You realize your soul is starving while you're busy entertaining chaos. That's not a mental breakdown, that's a spiritual awakening. And it only happens when you finally choose to be alone. Every queen you admire, every woman who radiates power, it's not the makeup or the money. It's the mental clarity behind her eyes. She's not confused, she knows who she is. And that knowledge, it was born in solitude. You start to separate what's real from what's fake. You realize not every text needs a reply. Not every invitation deserves a yes. Not every opportunity aligns with your purpose. And when you finally see that, when the haze clears, you start making decisions from a place of truth, not trauma. You realize your time is precious. Your energy is sacred. Your peace is expensive. And if it costs your clarity, it's too damn expensive. Because clarity gives you something no one else can. It gives you back to you. In a world that's constantly yelling at you to hustle, to chase, to prove, alone time becomes rebellion. It's the place where you drop the armor, take off the mask, and look yourself in the eye and ask, what do I really want? And for once, you actually hear the answer. You heal in isolation, not in chaos. Healing doesn't happen when the music is loud, when the party is on, or when you're drowning yourself in distractions pretending everything's fine. Healing is not glamorous. It's raw, uncomfortable, silent, and slow. And most importantly, it requires space. Emotional, mental, spiritual space. That space isn't found in the arms of someone new. It's not found in 100 text threads or motivational quotes. It's found in isolation. When you pull back, shut the door, and look at your pain straight in the eye without flinching. You don't put a cast on a broken leg and keep running. You stop, you sit, you rest. You allow the bone to align again. But emotionally, we try to skip that. We break inside and then distract ourselves with noise, fake smiles, temporary highs, shallow validation. But the truth is, you can't skip the process. You've got to sit in the stillness long enough for the wounds to speak. Think of a woman who just walked out of a toxic relationship. Her friends say, go out, forget him, flirt with someone else, keep yourself busy. But her soul whispers, come home to yourself. So she stops, she takes time off, she deletes his number. She doesn't numb it, she feels it. She writes, she sobs, she breathes through the memories. And slowly, without anyone watching, she starts healing. Not because someone saved her, but because she chose herself. Chaos is the enemy of clarity, and without clarity, you cannot heal. You end up repeating the same cycles with different faces. You run from one heartbreak into another, thinking time will magically fix it. But time doesn't heal you, intention does, silence does, solitude does. You've got to sit with the pain until it teaches you what you needed to know. Ever notice how people go on retreats in nature when life becomes too heavy? It's not because mountains or oceans have magic, it's because those places offer isolation. A reset from the overstimulation of life. In that reset, emotions bubble up, memories resurface, and the truth stands naked. And only then can you choose to release, to forgive, to rebuild. There was a girl I met who lost her job and her partner in the same month. She was shattered. Everyone told her to keep moving, but she chose differently. She went silent. She moved back home. She disconnected from everything, social media, toxic friends, even TV. For months she sat with herself. She learned to cook again. She journaled every day. She cried until her chest stopped hurting. And when she returned to the world, she was unrecognizable. Not because she looked different, but because she'd healed. Her energy was pure. Her boundaries were solid. Her smile was real. You heal in isolation, because that's where you hear your soul whisper the loudest. It tells you where you betrayed yourself. It reminds you what you used to love before you lost yourself. It holds up a mirror and says, you abandoned yourself while chasing people who didn't even care. And when that truth hits, it hurts. But it also liberates. You start cleaning out your mental closet. You start replaying what they did and start asking why you allowed it. You stop craving closure from others because you give it to yourself. That's the gift of isolation. It doesn't just heal the heart. It rewires your mind. It elevates your self-worth. It makes you your own safe space. Healing doesn't require a crowd. It requires courage. The courage to be alone. The courage to not post about your pain, but to process it privately. The courage to step away from the noise until your inner voice becomes louder than your fears. And when that voice says, I deserve better, you'll believe it. Not because someone else told you, but because you felt it in the quiet. You become emotionally independent when you stop making other people the source of your happiness, your confidence, your peace. It's when your world no longer shatters because someone didn't text you back or failed to show up for you. It's when you stop outsourcing your worth to other people's attention. Emotional independence doesn't mean you never feel lonely or you never need anyone. It means your emotional stability isn't tied to someone else's presence or absence. You know how to be there for yourself. You know how to hold your own heart. There was a woman I knew who was constantly waiting for her partner to compliment her, waiting for friends to reassure her, waiting for others to validate her dreams. And every time they didn't, she crumbled. Her self-worth dropped. Her confidence shook. Then one day she stopped. She looked in the mirror and said, what if I stopped waiting? What if I gave myself everything I keep begging from others? That was the beginning. She started showing up for herself, bought herself flowers, celebrated her own wins, took herself on dates, and slowly she became the kind of woman who doesn't need anyone to choose her because she chose herself first. You realize people come and go, emotions rise and fall. But if you keep depending on someone else to fix you when you're broken, you will always remain a slave to their choices. Emotional independence is the quiet superpower of queens. It's what makes you unshakable. It's what keeps you grounded when life gets messy and unpredictable. Think of how often we say things like, he makes me happy, or she broke my heart. But the truth is, your happiness is yours. Your heart is yours. Nobody should have the power to ruin you emotionally unless you hand it to them. Emotional independence is saying, I can love you deeply, but I'll still be okay without you. That's not arrogance.